And we're back with Raylan Riccardi of she's the president of the Gorge Heroes Club. And we were talking about the boxes that you send over, but you guys also send letters. And I would imagine somebody who's been deployed, a letter is probably worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Sometimes I think you could just put X's on a page, and they would love it because they mail call, they get called, to go get it. And that's really important when they're in boot camp, especially because that's all they can get in boot camp, and so to get those words of encouragement, hang in there, it'll be better or whatever, and I send jokes a lot. Yeah, and I have to get kind of careful with it because I send a lot of military jokes, where one branch of the service is bashing another. And I have to remember, okay, I'm doing the letter for an Army guy, so we're bashing Marines today. And then I have to switch it over when it's going to the Air Force or something.
Yeah.
So, but humor's big, things that you send. And they like to hear about just regular life.
Sure.
Like to know we're all back here just doing regular life.
Right, yeah. So, it probably helps them almost disconnect from some of the stress that they're under. Just having somebody, even if it's somebody they don't even know, just somebody that says something to them is probably...
too. Well, to know they matter. I mean, they need to know they matter.
Right.
They feel sometimes, I think, like, the war's been going on for a long time and Americans just are forgetting, that they're out there, struggling. And so it shows them that that's not true,
Yeah. So beyond the packages and the letters, which in and of itself is a huge deal, but you guys also go out and try and educate the community about the war and what's happening, because all of us that are not directly involved at some level just get our information from the media, and it can be slanted
or few and far between. I mean, you're not hearing that much. It's really fierce firefighting going on every day in Afghanistan right now, but you're not really hearing that much about it, and so unless you have the in people that can tell you those things you don't know.
Right.
So when the soldiers come back, we ask them if they'll speak, publicly, and tell what they liked receiving, what their camp was like, and if they agree to do that, like Sergeant Roger Rouleau, Sergeant First Class Roger Rouleau from the Dalles, he agreed to do that. So he came down and did a presentation, and we served a dinner, invited the public to come in and hear him, speak, and he showed some pictures, and it allows people to learn a little bit about them. And then we also speak, I drag a Kevlar vest in the pack all over the place so people can try that on and see really how heavy it is.
Right.
And talk a little bit about the living conditions,
Well, share that story about, it was at somebody, I think, in Nebraska.
Yes.
Something in World War II.
It's a town in Nebraska, and I am so impressed. I'm actually going to make a trip to North Platte, Nebraska in my lifetime because that little community came together and they decided to meet every troop train during World War II. And so they would meet them at the station, and everybody in North Platte and the surrounding areas had a day that they were supposed to provide the chickens, potato salad, or whatever,
Okay.
And they would feed them. The troops would be on the platform for 20 minutes, and they'd feed them, give them gifts, and the troops, they figured 5 million soldiers and sailors, airmen and Marines went through there during the course of the war. And they would remember when they were over in World War II. I wish we were in North Platte right now, and this little town gained the significance. And later on, servicemen came back just to see the town because, they were so touched by that effort. But they did it for 5 years, This war has been going on for 9. And so you're asking people to make a longer commitment, but it just was so awesome to me. That
and
people
how did
came
you
in
hear
and
about
met
the
in
story?
need. There's a book
called
The Little Town That Could, and it's just awesome. And one of our members gave it to me to read when we first started this whole thing, and I thought, yes,
yeah,
that's
what
exactly what we're
inspiration.
trying. Maybe not the fried chicken thing, but anyway, it was awesome.
That's great, perfect inspiration.
It is.
Yeah. Well, and the troops supporting these folks. Regardless of how people feel about the war, I mean, these are individuals. They have families. They have loved ones. So you're not necessarily supporting the war by supporting them. You're supporting people, and that's your cause, and that's what I think is really important. Let's talk about that.
Well, Congress sent them there, and that's an important point. They didn't just decide to go to Iraq and Afghanistan one day. And so they're there, and they're young. My son's 28, so he's an old man in the Corps now. Most of them are 18, 19, 20 years old. And they're people, and they're kind of really interesting people. My son's a poet, for instance. He leads an assault team, but he also writes poetry, and then you'll find that a lot. There's an interesting element to them. They're multidimensional. you know.
And we forget that. I mean, we hear troops, and it's just like a term. We forget these troops are human beings.
Right, they are, and they're kind of fun little human beings. You know, when you get, they have a culture. The military has a culture, and when you get to understand that culture a little better, you understand the way that they think.
Yeah.
You know, death lives with them every day, so they look at it a lot differently than we do. You know, they're a lot more at peace with a lot of those things, and fate, you know, and things. So, you know, being able to encourage them as people is really important too. I send books of poetry, you know, great thoughts, those kind of things to keep their soul alive.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and then your organization would be a great outlet too for people who maybe do have loved ones that are serving.
Oh, we're great support for military. We have a lot of military moms now that as their kids deploy, you know, they come in and get really active. And
I'd imagine.
You know, and then when one of them's having a bad day because something's happened or they, you know, deployment, I just get on the email and put out a little notice to all the other military moms, and, you know, they email and keep in touch. You know, they're really good.
So how can the community get involved in what you're doing and really help you guys out, which helps the troops?
Well, the main thing is, you know, if everybody commits to a little bit every month and they just make that part of their, you know, even if they don't have time to come down and pack boxes once a month, because we do that on the fourth Wednesday of every month. We're just starting in July to do it at the Western Antique Automobile and Aeroplane Museum in Hood River. Yeah. And they partnered with us. We're doing some fundraisers with them.
Great.
And anyway, they can come down and do that at 5:30 on the fourth Wednesday, or they can just, you know, send in a check, agree to do shipping, drop off a bag of candy. There's really no end to it. You know, we have people that make cards, like people that stamp cards, and they just bring us in cards for us to use. And
so anything helps.
People, hats. You know, people that crochet are making hats, you know, for the winter time, so we can send those over.
That's great.
You know, we just ask people don't get too creative on the colors because you have to use the boring black, brown, you know, it's not real fun.
Yeah.
We have some quilters that are making quilts for when they get wounded. We sign them when they, you know, and Greg Walden's office, Congressman Walden, is helping us deliver messages to them when they're at Walter Reed or Bethesda. So we take care of them on this side of the pond, too.
Perfect. Well, hey, Raylyn, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for doing this. I mean, it's a very important work, and so it's been a pleasure.
Fun.
It's fun. Well, good. Well, it's obviously it's needed and it's appreciated. So
yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure meeting you and having the opportunity to hopefully enlighten and inspire some folks to get involved with what you're doing. So, you guys, again, thanks for watching. We will see you next time on Localite.
John Compton here saying thanks again for watching. And remember, if you've got a guest idea, let us know. Just visit localite.com.